Hey everybody, this is part 2 of Career Regret, Pandemic Pivots, and Picking the Safe Path. Thank you so much. Welcome to Burnt Out Perfectionist, and we shall continue here.
Do I have anything? That's like every ADHD girl's dream, because mine was always a comic book store with ice cream and a coffee shop.
Mine, I wouldn't mind ice cream, but I think I like a bakery. I think because it doesn't seem as stressful to the outside eye.
It
Like
does.
there's a lot of things through that, like taxes, money, rent, all of those types of things. But when you're sitting there doing an office job, doing like data analytics,
You're doing the same shit over and over again, opening the same Google spreadsheet, making the same data look pretty.
You're also not, like, if someone comes in and you have a regular, okay, his name's Joe.
Yeah.
Joe gets a black coffee 3 cream. You talk to Joe every day. You see Joe every day. You build that connection with them. It's like a small town vibe.
Mm-hmm.
Floral, maybe somebody's, like, someone's birthday. It's Valentine's Day. You're, like, creating joy. Book, like, oh, I really want to read a book like this. Like, you're finding something that's going to bring someone joy in their life.
Yeah.
Versus, like, data analytics. Like, to somebody who, if you want to write a book, that whole part before it, you're not like, oh my god, this book's going to be in someone's hands and they might love it and this might get them to start reading again.
Yeah.
It's like you're doing something to, like, boost someone's life, but people don't realize the back end of how much effort it takes.
Also, like, because I did data analytics, sometimes you're sitting there and you're just like making data look a specific way, or you end up determining, for example, that like an entire department doesn't need to exist.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh yeah, well, and they're like, oh great, thank you so much. But then it's like 5 people either lost their jobs or got moved into different places. And like there's all these other things that kind of go behind it just because you were clicking away on a Google sheet. Like there's so much that goes into that.
The personal part. Also, I feel like a lot of larger companies, people find it really hard because you can have the person who works really hard and they won't bring them up because you're like, you're really good at your job. I can't lose you.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I need you there. That was the story of my life at my first job.
Then
My first like
more
big girl job or whatever. And I did make like a really great wage, but like that's the whole thing is if you go in and you always do the role the way that you feel that you should do the role, and you're doing a million different things at once, and you're like, I'm contributing, I'm doing all this stuff, and other people just come in and just do like that one thing, and I'm doing 3 or 4 different things, that it does get like, I know in my part it was taken advantage of in a certain aspect to the point where I would like apply for other things, or people would be like, oh, you're guaranteed to get this, and I would never get it.
I think also then it's like people are just seeing people as numbers, and I think that's the hard thing too, is like if it's a poor atmosphere, then it's like, well, why am I here? I don't want to be here.
Yeah.
It can't be this bad anywhere else. And it's like you get that like newlywed phase if you change jobs. You're like, oh my god, everything's great.
Mm-hmm.
There's like, I think a lot of businesses too aren't open to like, they'll hire people and there's a lot of like bad apples.
Oh yeah.
And you'll have people who love their job and they work and they love doing things.
And then there's that person who just bitches and complains about the job all the time to the point where it's like, even though you like what you're doing, it's like there's this chronic like Eeyore next to you being like, well, we may get laid off next month. You shut up, Janet.
I think also there's the separation thing. So when I first started, I never took breaks. I just worked through them because I was like, what's the point? I need to like get stuff done. And then it's like, well, I need to leave. I need to do other things. I need to get away during this time. It'll make me feel better. And it's hard to do that because I find it really hard to be like, if I want to take a break, I find it hard to be around people because I know that they're going to complain about work.
I know also like because I used to be like that, I'd save all my breaks till the end of my shift and then be like, I'd either leave early or bank them. And they'd be like, why? And I was like, because I'm here and I'm here to do the job and I'm here to focus on what I'm doing. And I'm fully focused and fine with doing all this. And I don't really want to take a break because if I take a break, then I might lose said focus or something, right?
Not even that. It's just like,
oh, well, always found me on my break too. Like when I started taking them, they'd always look for me so they could ask me questions. So technically I wasn't even taking a break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's also the frustrating thing is, like, as much as you're, like, on break, I know people are like, "You're still on call," and stuff like that. You can't actually, like, really take a break unless, like, you walk away and nobody can talk to you.
Yeah, unless you, like, go hide somewhere.
Which then you're like, "I'm not even enjoying my break. I'm just really hoping no one finds me."
I know, because there's only so many options when you live in a northern part of Canada. Like,
Yeah.
you can't go outside in the winter or sometimes the spring or the late fall because you'll just freeze your fucking ass off. In the spring and summer, at least you have a chance of, like, maybe you can do, like, a walk around the building or something, or, like, there's, like, those little options outside, but then, of course, other people are doing those too.
To any, like, bosses and stuff, have separate staff rooms. Have, like, multiple staff rooms. Have one that's, like, lunch and, like, the social one. Have, like, a quieter one with, like, a bookshelf.
Yeah.
Because I find it so hard when you're, like, you just want to turn off and it's so loud and it's like, I don't want to do anything.
I know. That's when I started blaring music in my ears and just, like, sitting off of the corner.
Yeah, but sometimes it's like, oh, this is, like, the staff room. This is where everybody has lunch.
Mhm.
And it's like, well, I don't really want to.
Yeah.
I'd rather just, like, go sit outside and, like, freeze.
I'd rather just do something else. Like,
I think those are all aspects, too, of, like, job
exhaustion.
exhaustion, but, like, constantly changing things, or, like, people take work home,
Yeah.
which I do sometimes, but, like, it'll be hard. It's hard to separate it, and if you don't have, like, those hobbies and stuff, then it's like, oh, my job's terrible.
Yeah, and I think, and it's also, like, you always have to be on. And then you're like, okay, well, when I get home, I'll look at doing that thing I want to do eventually instead of being in this career. And then sometimes you just become so mentally exhausted and almost, like, distracted that you can't even put the effort into doing the other things because that job is, like, literally just being the fuck out of you, like, physically, mentally, emotionally, everything. And you just hear them and you're like, I gotta go to bed.
My head just twitched so hard. It was like,
I'm like, did I hit a nerve?
but it's just this, like, twitchy today. I think that's the other frustrating thing is, like, I used to be the person who woke up 10 minutes before I needed to, like, leave for work, and, like, I can get ready really quickly. And then it's like you start to get up earlier and it's like, oh, I can have breakfast. I can do this, I can do this. And then when I leave, it's not like, when I leave, I need to start changing at work again. When I leave, I come home, I instantly put different clothes on. I feel like a different person.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God. Or, like, I used to be the type of person that I could only shower at night, like, right before bed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I come home and I just shower.
Yep.
And I'm like, I'm done.
I'm done. I need to wash the day off.
And I think a lot of people, too, are not wanting to work 9 to 5 because they're like, well, all of this time that I'm not at work, I'm just so exhausted.
I know, like, the whole, like, 9 to 5 thing, people want flexible hours. Maybe people don't want to. I mean, honestly, there was one point where I was like, I would love to work 10 hours, 4 days a week.
A lot of people want that.
And I was like, wouldn't that be great? Like, they don't have to be 4 days in a row. Like, it could be 2 days here, like
Monday, Tuesday off, Wednesday.
Yeah. Like, having that, because it is amazing. Look, I worked, like, a majority of the jobs that I had, my start time was either 7 or 8. And then I changed to a department which everybody was like, I can't believe you're going there as a support agent type of thing. Like, it's a sales division. And I was on a shift that was 12:30 to 8:30 at night. I have never been more of a productive, balanced bitch in my entire life than when I had that shift. Because I would still get up because I was used to getting ready for those other jobs that started at 7, 8, like, within that time. I would still get up at, like, 6:15, 6:30, sometimes 5:30, 5:15, all kind of depend. I would go to the gym. I would freaking get home from the gym. I would, get ready for the day. Sometimes on the way home from the gym, I go grocery shopping. I would meal prep, like, my food. Like, I'd have breakfast, and then I would make, like, the stuff for my lunch, make the stuff for my dinner, like, and I'd have all these extra things done. And I would get so much done in the whole day and then go to work. and I would still get all my shit done at work. And then I would come home at like 8:30 at night. And sometimes when I was young, I would still go out and like party and do shit and then do that all over again. But there was other times where I'd come home and be like, wow, I had a really accomplished day today. And I would sit and watch like an hour and a half, 30 minutes, unless I was really tired and it was super busy. But sit down and watch stuff. And that's the whole thing is like, sometimes it's not people not wanting to work a 9 to 5 or an 8 to 4:30 or whatever type shift. Sometimes some people are just more productive in like the afternoon and evening. And that was literally my optimal shift. Like I even think like mornings would be less rushed. Like there's so many other things that would feel less rushed that you'd have to prepare for ahead of time. And I went to bed, unless it was like a Friday or Saturday night, because I'd go like party or whatever. I was like going to bed on time. And I know that I wasn't married and didn't have a kid. But like, if parents even had that option, obviously like the after school part, if you're only a 1-parent household, that would make it harder with that type of shift and everything. And you wouldn't be putting your kid to bed, but like you could volunteer at your kid's school.
Huh?
You could do like the hot lunch program. Like there would be all those extra things that you can do kind of along the way, or even just having that where you do so much stay at the office. And then when you go home after your kid goes to bed, you get a couple hours. I think the misconception is that people think that people don't want to work that amount of hours. People just want flexibility of when to complete those things. And I think there needs to be a lot more like confidence on when people can complete those things and not like just an assumption like, oh, you'll just be at home and won't even do a good job.
I think like that would be great. Like even changing times during the week.
Yeah.
But it was like, say Monday was your like later day. So you worked like 10 to 6.
Yeah.
And then Friday it was like 8 to 1.
Right. And I know some people are like, oh, I couldn't even plan my day around that. Like I literally never missed a dental appointment, a doctor's appointment, or anything when I had that shift.
Yeah.
Because there was me and all the blue and gray haired folks with me in every waiting room, or moms with little itty bitty children. Like, because a lot of people don't utilize those hours.
And because you can't, because when you work like 8 to 4, 9 to 5,
yeah,
usually the dental office is only open 8 to 4.
Yeah. And then it's like, but it's not open just 8 to 4. The last appointment is at 3:30 or 3:45. So you have to adjust to kind of do that. And then you're rushing around and doing a million other things. And it's just literally exhausting, like leading up to that. So I think there's like a lot of different changes and stuff. I think it's always finding that way to like balance doing what you're doing in order to like you said, fund what you want to do next. But then also continuing to discover like other shit that you can do. Like I looked at my friend and I was like, you know what I would love to do all day? And you're going to laugh so hard when I say this. I love doing the podcast. Obviously, that would be like main goals. But I was like, if I could do something on the side just to make money, I would love just to write manuals or like training modules for people. Yeah. And a lot of people are like, oh, that's HR, that's this. And my friend Julie looks at me and goes, that's actually just called technical writing. Did you do it before? I'm like, yeah, I did it all the time. And you go through and you have the whole thing. But that can literally be your one job. But in my mind, because at the other job that I did, that was part of the millions of things that I did that job. So I assumed that you had to have a whole other thing in order to do that stuff. No, but you can just do that one thing.
I don't know.
And I didn't even know that the verbiage was called technical writing. When I heard technical writing, I was like, is that like someone who's like, and the piece for the motor goes here?
What gets me too is that all jobs have different names.
Oh, every single one. So one of the jobs that I did for a longer period of time was called quality assurance. So I did quality assurance. Then I applied for a quality assurance job at another job. I found out that 75% of what I did in the previous job wasn't considered quality assurance anymore. It was like in this whole other division. And I actually had to do this one part. But then I actually had to learn how to, like the reporting stuff that I did. That's data analytics. The training stuff that I did. That's technical writing. There's a whole other section that does that. And I'm like, what? And that's because like, and then it's like when I say, oh yeah, I've done like QA for stuff. The same friend who told me about technical writing looks at me and goes, I'm going to let you know right now because we have the same kind of like qualification. She has other stuff and everything too, but like very similar kind of like pathways. And she goes, if you say quality assurance, a lot of people think that you're like in code and you know how to like edit code and fix stuff and all this other thing. And I'm like, what? She goes, yeah, like quality assurance is like testing. I'm like, well, I used to test programs too. Like if they worked, if they didn't work, if this app had this, how the functionality and stuff like that was. And she goes, I know, but when people first look at the stuff that you wrote down, it says like listen to calls and saw where people could sell more or where people could have better customer service. And that's like sales coaching or call coaching. And that's actually different. So like if you break down the job that you had, there's actually like 8 different jobs in there. And if you only want to do that one part of that job, this is the name for it. And I'm like, what?
Like, why isn't it just like in general the same thing?
Why can't I just write down the things that I want to do and the things that I have done? And then it's like, okay, well, and then be like, oh, that sounds fun and apply for it instead of like this is not to shit on anybody in HR, but I don't know who has turned around and looked at you guys and said, write a description for a job that you have no idea about. Because I've even gone into interviews where people are like, oh yeah, I've never done this job and I don't know a lot about it. That's the write-up that was given to me by some like higher up. And then you talk to a supervisor or somebody actually doing the role and they're like, yeah, that's not even close to what we do. And it's either more or less or like totally off par.
That's what I don't get. It's like when you read a job description and either it's so general that you're like, what is this job?
Yeah.
It'd be like communication. And you're like, of what?
Yeah, like, am I picking up a phone? Am I writing emails? Like, where are we going from there?
You must be able to communicate efficiently. You must be proficient in Office, in Microsoft Office. Which one? What part of it?
Yeah. What
Like,
edition?
What edition? Like, what are we going based off of?
Yeah.
You must be able to do, and it like will be super general, and you're like, okay. The other thing is social media versus marketing versus social media marketing versus social media marketing analytics.
And versus content creation.
Yep.
Like there are a million different types of roles and you're like, oh, well, I can do that. I can make this and this. Oh, we're looking for somebody who does blank. And I'm like, how is that applicable to the name of the role? And it's not that I have a misunderstanding about the name of the roles, but some of the roles I'm like, how did you even choose that name? Like there's always like a fad when it comes to certain things. And it's like, because I remember it was customer service for the longest time. And then they changed it to, instead of customer service, it was customer support. Because you were supporting the customers. And then they would change it to like all these other fucking intricate things that literally just meant the same damn thing.
This is what I never understand too, is that it'll be like customer service and you think it's the person that you're calling. It's not. Also, I understand like AI is supposed to make things more efficient.
Oh, it's not.
But I also find it really frustrating when you like apply for different jobs and it's like, well, you didn't have the keywords that we were looking for.
Oh, and that's the whole thing is there's a lot of people. There was a huge study that was done. I read it. I saw it on like CNN or something where a lot of people were utilizing AI, like these AI things. Obviously, I know that there's tons of stuff that comes in and like because of understaffing or what have you, people are unable to go through them. But like I used to go through like 150 applications for jobs like per day. And when I was like helping out with stuff. And we would look through and you would look for certain things. Perfect. You have sales experience. Perfect. You have this. Now it's like that person can have all those things that you were looking for, but because they didn't put existential or because they didn't put like A/B testing, it just launches them out of the pool. And then you don't know, and all these people are getting like rejection letters. Like when I actually applied to the job that I ended up having for 10 years, I got an auto reject letter. And then the only reason why I got an interview is because I did a really good job at the hotel at an event for that same communication company. And the one supervisor walked up to me and said, wow, like you're really good at what you do. You've been in full communication with us. Like, is this your dream is to be here? Or like, do you think you'd ever want to like come work for us? I'm like, I did apply and it said I wasn't like good to go. And they're like, oh yeah, we just got a new program.
And why aren't you having someone look up, like double check the program?
And that's the whole thing. It's like, there's a lot of things that are behind that. And again, I don't know if that's like a staffing issue. I feel like there's always an excuse when anybody points out stuff like this. But then I saw like the most terrifying thing, and I feel like our algorithms are pretty on point.
We got the AI interviews.
The ones where like it's a random AI interview and then people are like denying it and losing their shit on it. Like that is not okay.
Well, I saw one and it was glitching.
Yeah.
And it was like, hi.
The one that was speaking in German?
No.
Or the one that just kept repeating the same one?
Yeah, and then he like exited out of it and he tried to like contact them and they were like, we're sorry, the job has been filled now.
Yeah. And that's the whole thing is if you're not going to put the effort into actually sitting down, looking at people's resumes and hiring them, you shouldn't be hiring people.
My other thing is if you are like, oh, if there's anything that we feel like will come up in the future, we'll contact you. I don't think anybody actually contacts them.
Which is funny because when I worked at the communication company, you would have little boxes that we would click off. But we would also have these drop downs for like if I saw someone's resume and they applied to be a sales agent, but I talked to them and they were more like customer service oriented versus like being like a full sales thing. I would be like, possibly in the future, but then I would also click a drop down that said customer service. So that way when customer service, they would pull from the pool of applications that we had and they could see the people who already pre-applied. Or I would literally be like, oh my God, we need a new warehouse guy, for example. This guy has all this experience. And I would literally print off the resume and go to the warehouse person and be like, hey, I know you're looking for somebody and it's only internally posted or you haven't had a lot of external candidates, but I had someone just apply for this and I was talking to them and they're like really great. And I said, you know, like this is for sales. Like, are you looking at changing or you're just looking for a job? And they're like, oh, I'd love to do warehouse again. Here you go. Like, I feel like that human connection is lost when it comes to it. And that like kind of goes for like you said, when you get into like those careers and stuff like that, there's a lot of human connection that you think is going to happen in some careers and some roles. And then it doesn't happen and you're just a number and you just feel like you were like given them, I don't know, the President's Choice version of something when you thought you were going to get the brand name.
Well, my favorite thing is I once was put up for a scholarship and I had to go to an interview and I was like one per like certain area. And I went in and they interviewed all of these people. And the whole baseline of the scholarship was being humble. And I was told, I didn't hear anything. I contacted them after and they said that I was too humble. When the baseline of the scholarship was being humble.
I think my whole thing is like, don't give me a stupid fucking answer. Or my personal favorite, it's the same thing that you just said, but in a different word, a different verbiage. Didn't have the proper skills in order to do this job. Was unqualified to do this job.
Yeah.
And it's like, literally, it says customer service, and I have 15 plus years of customer service. Please explain to me where my customer service didn't apply. And then I've emailed back, not in a bitchy way, just saying, hey, you know, like, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. I noticed that this is what it said in my thing. And a lot of people go, oh, sorry, it's just an auto email. Unfortunately, we just went with another candidate. But again, they don't give any feedback back.
What pisses me off too is I think in every company, there should be one person who understands everybody's role.
Yeah.
Just like in general, one person, part of HR, whatever. That's the person who does the interviewing.
Yeah.
That's the person who does the training.
Yeah.
And that's the person who is like the mentorship role.
Yeah.
It should not be the current staff's issue to train somebody new. Unless you're giving them a good bonus or you're doing something to appreciate them taking on the extra work.
Yeah, I think that's a big thing that ends up getting missed too. Or it's like we stopped doing it where they would filter people to HR to a certain extent, and then they would give us a pool of people, and then we'd have the people like come and sit with us so they could actually see what we did.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10 people are like, oh, I have no fucking desire to do this. And I'm like, well, like, sometimes I was like, what was the description that you saw? And then I'd read the description and be like, that's nothing about what we do. Because it would either be the wrong one or something else, because certain things are not connecting. The line of communication is like completely fucking broken. And then it's like when you show up to work one day and they're like, by the way, this student's here to observe what you're doing. And you're just like, cool. It's like a Monday and I'm tired and I got a bunch of shit to do and clean up and stuff. But now I have this other person here to like train and I had zero prep. Like, when there's those different things that kind of come up when you just expect to come in and just like do your job at one point and all these other things get added on you.
It's okay to ask staff to do that, but also appreciate them.
Yeah.
Like, don't say, oh, we don't have the money for this. We don't have the money for that. Oh, but we're going to make this entire new job.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, if you appreciate your staff, they're more likely to want to do other things. Like, I saw this Australian company, and they now have a childcare credit.
Oh, I saw that. Yes.
I think I sent it to her. I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
But they have that. Does it take on more for them? Yes. But also at the same time, like, you're listening to your staff, you're coming with the concern.
Oh, and they have a basic guarantee unless someone's sick and can't go to daycare, that their daycares, that those people are able to attend to come to work.
Yeah. And they're probably going to be like, oh, great, I don't have that stress. Like, yeah, I don't have to deal with that. Like, oh, please submit your receipts and we'll do that. I understand that's a lot. But once you take away and like.
That was a small business too. That wasn't a large business that did that.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's super impressive. But again, that's guaranteeing that someone is going to be able to come 9 times out of 10.
But also, it's like, we listen that you have kids and you're concerned about this.
Yes.
So I think once you're unable to, like, if you don't know your boss and you don't even know, like, what their names are or anything like that, like, that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because what my biggest frustration is that people will have, like, this superiority complex. That there's a million jobs connected to a million jobs.
Yeah.
And once you're, like, not even seeing people for people and you're like, oh, I'm above you.
Oh, I hate
If people do terrible jobs, they should be called out. I'm not disbarring that. If someone's, like, just trying to do their job, like, get to know their name.
Yeah.
Get to know their likes, their dislikes. Like, you don't have to, like, and people are like, well, I'm just there to do my job. I'm not there to, like, have fun. But it's like, if you've been sitting beside the same person in the cubicle for 25 years and you just found out last week, like, their name was Susan, like, I'm sorry. Oh, well, I just do my job and leave. Well, you put a face to the name, so if you're sending, like, an angry email to them of, like, you're a terrible person, and they're like, what? What did I do? Like, people are more likely to learn and ask questions and not be terrible at their jobs.
I know there's a certain part of, like, human connection that needs to be on things. Like, I can't even imagine with some of the roles that I've had sitting next to somebody and not knowing them. Like, so I know people, like, joke and say, like, oh, trauma bonded or whatever. But, like, I literally went to an opening day for baseball and I saw 5 people I used to work with. And we worked in all different roles together. And it was just like, oh, hey, how you doing? And not just because, like, oh, you know, they became too much like friends or whatever, like, because we all sat next to each other, because we helped each other through stuff. And it's not like, I don't like using the family thing because I feel like that, like, cheapens actual family.
Yeah.
But, like, we all work together as, like, a really solid system. At one point, all 4 of us had worked in, like, within the same area. And it was cool because it's like, oh, hey, how you doing? It's not an obligation. You don't have to be best friends with everybody that you know. But being able to have that form of human connection makes you actually want to go to work, too. Like, if you go to work and you feel like everybody doesn't like you, you don't want to fucking be there.
Then you're more anxious. Then you're stressed out. Then you feel like, what's the point of me being at work if no one likes me?
Yeah.
And then that's not a safe environment. That's not safe. It's not a safe environment. It's not, like, a healthy environment to be in. Like, you're not there to, like, please everybody, but you still should be able to, like, go to work and, like, have a, like, happier atmosphere.
Yeah, and even just being able to feel, like, comfortable to, like, talk to other people that you work with.
Like,
That's how you learn more shit, too, I feel like. I learned so much random shit from people, not about them, but even about, like, how to do stuff better or additional things or random jobs that we had that I had no idea that I could apply for. Oh, you know, you're really good at this. You should do this. That's a fucking job.
I think also people misinterpret, like, personal life and professional life. That, like, there's, if you don't want to share a bunch of stuff in your life,
You do not have to, yeah.
But if you're, like, even, like, getting married or something like that, if you don't want to tell people at work, it's totally okay. But if it's like, you know what, Sarah's allergic to oranges, I'm maybe not going to put room spray in my cubicle if I'm right beside her because she's allergic to oranges.
Yeah.
Or, like, you know, so-and-so had new glasses.
Yeah.
Like, I really like your new glasses. Where'd you get them from? That's not like a personal question. It's not like, oh my God, where were you born? What's your birth certificate number?
Oh, yeah.
Like, there's that different things. Like, I'd say people at work well, obviously, everybody knows everything about you at work. But
Yeah.
like,
My job, if you're new to the podcast, is that I support our brother, who's an adult with autism, in the home in which Eve resides. So, like, obviously, everybody knows everything about me. I overshare all the time because you know what? My boss is my mother. So,
and like for me, I think there's probably like a lot of things that I just don't talk about.
yeah.
Like, there might be certain people that you open up to more, but like, I'd say a grand majority of people don't know how many siblings I have.
Well, and that's the funny thing. My favorite thing is you'll show up to stuff, even for like things with school for my kid. You'll show up and then other people are like, oh, so there's like 3 of you, right? I'm like, nope, there's another one. Like,
Yeah.
just because of like when people see things and who they relate them to and stuff like that. Like, there's all these little things. And I think it went from like back in the day where they would be like, you leave your home at the door when you come in the business and no one talks about that stuff. And people had this like mindset in their mind that they didn't talk about any of that stuff when they actually did. Like, a lot of people knew like about like Jimmy's baseball game or knew about like all this other stuff. It wasn't like completely defined. And then it almost went like so hardcore where people didn't know anything. And then people started to adapt to know things about people. And then, there was a couple weirdos who ruined it and made it weird. And then when they made it weird, there was laws that came in about like sexual harassment and stuff like that. And you're like, well, now I don't want to overshare because what happens if there's like one of those creepy people in the office? And then it was almost like those boundaries were done and people were still like, okay, like we can work together as a community. And then it was like, it's toxic if you say your work environment is family, if it's community, they're all there to support each other. And all these things that were originally used as like great building blocks for a company were overused by other companies to like essentially manipulate you into being like a drone of the company and of the system. So then people are super cautious about that. There was a lot of that came out during like the pandemic and stuff. But then people worry and don't want their kids to fall into that. So then they relay it down to their kids. But now we're back to the point where like you can't even ask somebody how their weekend was because it's an invasion of their privacy. Like, we're just chronically going through this like cycle of people either like getting along or being completely fucking uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And it's like you can't even like greet if you're like greeting somebody and talking to them. It's like, yeah, I don't really do that here. I just come and do my job.
And it's like, well, I just asked how your pet was.
Yeah. I remembered that you had a pet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, what are you, stalker? Like, and it's like, it's weird how it's like rotated, manipulated, and changed like so many different times. And like, I know people are like, well, that shouldn't matter about a job and everything like that. But yeah, you need that extra like spark. You need that extra, like, people do need to work together at jobs. People don't just need to go to their one job because that one job, like you said, affects like 6 to 10 other people.
But also, like, you go to work, like, if you work 40 hours a week, you're with those people 40 hours a week, and that would be like solitary confinement. You're like,
Yeah.
I don't talk to them. I just sit in my room. Like, when people were like, work from home, and now they're like so greatly offended that they have to go into office. And I'm like, like, for people who are hired out of office, like, this is not the job they were hired into.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, they asked me to come back in. And I'm like, how do we get it that you're wearing pajamas to work?
I know. I personally know that like I can wear comfier clothes, but I can't wear pajamas or I'm not in the right mind space to work. I know that's how I am. I could never be the person who sits in bed and does work from home.
Oh, I would fall asleep.
Oh, straight up. I would be like out, like so quick it wouldn't even be funny. And I also wouldn't feel like as motivated and stuff like that. And I think because it's always that like the bad apples ruin the bunch or whatever. But because so many people claimed it as work-life balance and took real advantage of remote work, when there was people who would be like, oh, I remote work and I do my job the full 8.5 hours versus like when you're at the office, you got people coming to your desk, you got people pulling you aside, talking to you about random different things. And actually, if you add up your hours, you're working maybe 4.5 hours solid and the rest of the time is socializing. you're getting so much more work out of people when they're remote working, but then they assume that people just are like, I don't know, just not doing their fucking job.
Mhm.
Or that someone can't do their job while doing something else. Like, I know people who can sit and say, like, audit phone calls and fold laundry at the same time while writing notes on that call in order to submit it and get it all done in the same amount of time as even if they weren't doing that. I knew that I couldn't do that. I had to sit. This is my time to do this. I'm a time blocker. So I would sit and do stuff like that. And then there's other people who would literally sign in, do a quarter of their job, and then fuck off.
Yeah.
And then it was like, everybody's like that person. I'm like, really? Because I'm doing this. And they're like, oh, well, all these other people apparently are doing this way. So now everybody else has to do this. I'm like, but I can prove that I was doing my thing the right way. Can I continue to do my thing? Because I feel like I'm giving more than what I would inside another office. It's like, oh, no.
No, it's not allowed.
It's the all or nothing mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love how you're just like, da, 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 da.
We are like an hour and 45 minutes.
Oh, that's fine. There's a bunch of it that we probably have to cut out, like when I had to go poop.
That was a solid 10 minutes.
Yeah.
If you like listening to us discuss all things, really just all things.
I was like, we could literally talk about this subject and all the many different paths about this subject a million times over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let us know down below what you think. Wait, what, oh, I said what? Oh, God. What platform do you listen to this on? I'm always interested. Like, are you Spotify or an Apple podcast? Are you a YouTube? Are you what do you do when you listen to a podcast?
Oh, that's so funny. I clean most of the time when I'm listening to a podcast. I clean or I'm like walking to Costco or something.
I'm trying to think of what I do.
Oh, and sometimes it's when I'm doing like, I'm making social media stuff for the podcast or like doing stuff for my kids' school and I'm listening to something. It's almost like my office chatter.
Also, what playlist do you listen to? And if you have any fun playlists, can you let me know? Because I'm kind of running out of them right now.
I know, I'm totally running out of playlists too. I have like AI generated playlists and they're not doing it for me.
Yeah, mine are kind of boring right now, so I'm gonna freshen them up. But on that note, always stay warped and twisted as ever.
Catch you then, we're always here for more.